Video rolling on a dramatic rescue down in the Keys. Fans of the US and Iran on edge, with a shot at advancing in the World Cup on the line. Plus, fire and ice as the Panthers battle the Flames in Calgary. These stories and more coming up on Newsbreak.
Good morning, South Florida. I'm Julian Davis.
And I'm Kenya Cardone. Today is Wednesday, November 30th of 2022.
Live from the South Florida Media Network's Biscayne-based studios in North Miami, this is SFMN Newsbreak.
A vote today aiming to get things back on track for the nation's rail workers and the companies that employ them. The U.S. House of Representatives could hold a vote to block a rail strike as early as this morning.
In a rare show of bipartisanship, both chambers of Congress seem to support blocking rail workers from going on strike. President Biden has attempted for months now to reach a deal between the railroads and the workers. However, 4 of the 12 unions rejected the latest contract because of the lack of paid sick leave. Now the president believes negotiation time is over. As the economy seems to be at risk, Michael Baldwin, the president of one of these unions, has claimed political action will hurt their ability to bargain.
It takes away the strength and the abilities that we have to force bargaining or force the railroads into a situation to actually do the right thing.
But the desire of the workers and the worries of lawmakers are at odds as economists worry that a strike could increase inflation and slow down the supply chain.
2 migrants in a near-death experience rescued by a U.S. Border Patrol agent after nearly drowning. The scary incident took place off the coast of the Florida Keys on Monday. The USBP agent dropped a rope into the dangerous waters for the migrants to hang on to. The migrants were clinging onto that rope until a rescue boat was able to pull them to safety. So far, 18 migrants have been rescued in the Florida Keys.
Members of Governor Ron DeSantis' administration and other participants are facing lawsuits over flying migrants to Martha's Vineyard 2 months ago. The suit accuses them of deceiving migrants into, quote, accepting transportation that ultimately took them to Martha's Vineyard. It also alleges it was done to, quote, boost defendant DeSantis' national profile. Recently, DeSantis' Chief of Staff James Ultimer and Public Safety Czar Larry Keefe were added.
Team USA beating Iran in a high-stakes game in the Qatar World Cup. Political pressure mounting as the two nations' governments clash over an ongoing protest in Iran. CNN's Jen Sullivan looks at the swirling controversy both inside and outside of the stadium.
Team USA advancing to the next round in the Qatar World Cup with a 1-0 victory over Iran. The U.S. scoring the one and only goal of the game in the first half. The outcome met with cheers from U.S. fans. Disappointment from Iranian supporters. But the high-stakes game put more than just pressure on the players and feuding fans. The stadium, a global stage, becoming a political hotbed between the two nations. Days before the match, Iran demanding FIFA expel the U.S. from the World Cup after the United States Soccer Federation briefly posted Iran's flag without the emblem of the Islamic Republic on its social media pages to support human rights protests in Iran. The move putting Team USA's head coach in the hot seat ahead of Tuesday's game.
We had no idea about what U.S. Soccer put out.
Iran has been rocked by protests following the death of Mahsa Amini in September after she was arrested for wearing her hijab improperly. The White House making it clear they support the protesters.
We'll continue to do whatever we can to not only support their right of protest, but to hold the regime accountable.
Before their match with England last week, some Iranian players refused to sing the Iranian national anthem. That led to players' families being met with threats from the Iranian regime, according to a source involved with security at the games. Even fans were torn as they watched Tuesday's game against the U.S.
I can't be a supporter of the national team because of the current situation going on.
I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
Team USA star Christian Pulisic left the game with an injury after scoring the one and only goal in the victory. He posted to social media from his hospital bed that he plans to play in the elimination game against the Netherlands on Saturday morning.
The Florida Panthers get burned by the Calgary Flames across borders in Canada. This is the second Canadian team they play back-to-back and still could not find any luck. The Flames were able to score in every period of the game, while the Panthers could only put points on the board in the second period. The final score is Panthers 2, Flames 6. The Panthers will continue their tour in Canada and play the Vancouver Canucks tomorrow at 10 p.m.
A journey back to sea for injured marine mammals in the Keys.
That's still ahead, and so is the story.
Dude, how wrong could that have possibly gone?
A proposal fail of titanic proportions here in Florida. Stick around, we'll be back in just 2 minutes.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right, because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual, and she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out."
How prepared is your family if a tornado shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a hurricane? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes. Make a plan today.
Ring or fling, a Florida couple rolling video on their matrimonial mishap. The groom-to-be picked Sarasota Bay for the couple's big moment.
As the network's Daisy DeLeon reports, it all went wrong when he tried to pull out the ring.
One man went a little overboard on his marriage proposal in Florida, and we mean that quite literally. What went flying was the engagement ring. Scott Clyde pulled out of his pocket in a box. Scott lunged after it into Sarasota Bay on Florida's Gulf Coast. Susie Tucker couldn't stop laughing. Scott climbed back aboard the boat, got down on a bended knee, and finished what he started, though he was soaking wet. And of course, she said yes. He then put a ring on it and they kissed. The bride-to-be wrote, "I cannot wait to marry my best friend, aka the smoothest guy around." Although he may not have felt so smooth in the immediate aftermath.
Dude, how wrong could that have possibly gone?
The couple still got their happily ever after. For South Florida Media Network, Daisy DeLeon.
Scott Klein says he was trying to recreate the scene from the movie Titanic on the front of the small boat. He credits the ring's box for helping it to sink so slowly.
After 3 years, 3 months of rehabilitation in SeaWorld, 3 manatees find themselves back in the ocean. The manatees were taken in during the months of April, June, and July. One manatee had been hit by a boat and was facing a severe skull fracture, while the others were very emacipated, dehydrated, and inflamed. The Orlando theme park had doctors treat them until they were healthy enough to return home.
And that's all the time that we have for Newsbreak. I'm Kenya Cardone.
And I'm Julian Davis. Get more news anytime at sfmn.fiu.edu.